Hi folks, this is Benita. I am back with part 2 of our tutorial on our album that we're making, our gift portfolio. So here's what you're going to need to do the waterfall. So we're going to do the waterfall today, and we're going to do the envelope for the back cover. So I know I've tested this. You can see this. You can blow it up, freeze frame it, and then choose what you, or cut out what you need so you have it so you're ready to go. So I'm going to leave that there for just a minute. I'm hoping everybody got their portfolio done up to that certain point. So today what we're going to work on is that waterfall that looks like we have paper there, that we really don't. We're going to use a ribbon on it. And I do not tie ribbons well, but as you keep closing your book, it actually gets really, really nice. And then we're going to end the tutorial with making this envelope closure that has the two circles there with twine. And so again, typically, as I said before, I have those almost in all my albums. I usually put the, sometimes I put the envelope on the front, and sometimes I put the waterfall in the back, but I know I say typically a lot, sorry, I often have that in my albums because I really like that. What I also wanted to tell you is right here, there's some black space in here. You can take strips of paper, and if you wanted to in this one, you could add the 3/8 inch strip to either side of that if you'd like. You don't have to. So that's just an idea as well. So let's get started building your waterfall. Okay. So as I noted right here, what you're going to need is a base piece. I'm just going to set this down here for a second. Your base piece is going to be 6 1/8 by 8 1/2. That's going to be your base piece. You need 7 flaps for this. They're all exactly the same size. That's 5 1/4 by 6 1/8. And when you look at my my paperwork, it says to have your 5 1/4 at top of your scoreboard and score a 1/2 inch. And so this is 5 1/4. So you're going to set it on your scoreboard. Let me get my scoreboard. And when you read my instructions, that means that across the top is going to be the measurement I tell you. So I said with the 5 1/4 across the top, score. Whoops, sorry. Gosh, Rooney, I'm so sorry. I kind of got out of view there. With the 5 1/4 across the top right here, you'd be scoring a 1/2 inch, and that's what my instructions mean. So whatever measurement I tell you to go at the top, that's what I mean right up here. So you're going to score all 7 of those exactly the same at a 1/2 inch. Again, remember, we're going to always take your paper. I'm going to set this out of the way, so hopefully you've gotten that. When you have your bump, you always want to try to fold your pieces of cardstock to that bump. So I have already pre-folded all 6 of these, and then I have my 7th one. And so I'm just going to, I kind of like to do it like this. So I have, here's my bump, and I kind of just help my thing around like that. And here's my beautiful bone folder. I'm telling you, this is the best. And I'm just going to give it a good crease. So I have 7 of these, 1 base, and then I have a pocket that we're going to deal with later, but this pocket is 7 1/8 by 2 1/4. You're going to score a 1/2 inch on 3 sides, so it kind of makes the score marks here. Again, I use a decorative punch. You don't have to. If you don't have a decorative punch, you don't have to do that, but I like to do that. So you can kind of see that. So we're just going to leave this one set aside. So let's talk about how we're going to build this. So first and foremost, I'm going to take my glitter glue, my art glitter glue that dries clear. I'm telling you, if you don't have it, try it. I've tried many, many, many glues, and I would swear by this. So I'm going to put my very first flap up there. So I'm going to glue on this right here, and remember, I kind of do a scribble. Get your corners good though, remember, that's one thing. I put my pin back in because I don't like my glue to get thick and heavy, and sometimes I'm challenged and sometimes not. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this down right on my piece as best as I can. run my finger across it. Now open it up. Before you, like your gung-ho life is good, open it up to make sure the flow of it is going in the right direction. Then, remember, we're going to use our bone folder and we're going to burnish it. That really helps the glue adhere and make everything nice. Okay, then I'm going to close it. I'm going to give us another really good burnish right there. Okay, so that is number one. That's it. We're going to individually now take each and every one of these and we're going to put them, and we're going to go right below that line right there, because you can see that's where the ½ inch, our gusset was our flap was a ½ inch. So our next one is going to go right next to that, and you want to, don't rely on that being straight. That's all I have to say. So what you're trying to do is lay that as close as you can to that and make sure it's straight on here. And it may, like mine right here is not perfect, so don't worry about that. So again, what we're going to do right on this right here, we're going to scribble our glue. Get your corners. Put your pin back in if you're not challenged. And I'm going to go, and I always start on the left side, and I'm going to put that right on there. I'm just going to gently push it down, and then I'm going to open it up. Is it straight? It's a little crooked, but remember I could move it because I have glue. Pull it back down, and you just want to continue to try to maneuver a little bit. And when you have it right, you're going to, again, burnish it down. Close it up. Give that a good burnish. That was number two. I'm going to keep going. Again, I'm going to scribble my glue. I'm not telling you that you can't use score tape. You sure can. And you can then put glue over the score tape if you want. In my opinion, there's no need for that much score tape because this glue holds perfectly. So again, I'm going to put it right as close to that flap as I can. I'm going to put it down. I'm going to try to think it's lined up, and I'm going to just kind of gently move it with my finger. Open it up and say, gosh, is that pretty good? I'm going to move it a little bit because it's, again, the glue is still wet. Looks good. Put it down. I don't know how many of you guys have made waterfalls. You've used the score tape, you put it down, and it's not straight, and then you're mad. Or you live with it, and then you get the album together, and you're even madder. Okay, so we're going to continue to go here. Again, I'm going to scribble my glue on that flap. The flap's a ½ inch, by the way. Put my pin back in there. Maybe. Okay, I'm going to line it again right up next to that line right there. And I'm going to line it up against the left side. I'm going to just run my fingers on that glue just to kind of give it a base to stick. I'm going to open it up. This one's going really well, by the way. It doesn't always work this perfectly. I just know that. Give that a good burnish. Give that a good burnish. We're doing good. We're doing so good. Here's another one. Just going to put the glue on there. We're going to, again, right on that line. Against the left side and on that line. Kind of just move it with your finger to get it set in there. Open it up and see, if is that good? That's a little crooked. That one was a little crooked. You can kind of maneuver it. Oh, that one didn't come out all that great, folks. There, that's better. That's better. You see how I was able to maneuver that because it was glue and not taped down? But when I burnish it, my mom and I have had to rip some of these off sometimes, and I'm telling you, I think the glue holds better sometimes than the tape because it is sometimes really hard to get off. Okay, two more. You'll be amazed how easy this really is, and you will love it. You will love it. Need a new bottle of glue. Mine's kind of looking pretty sad. I mean, I keep refilling it, but it looks sad. Okay, so again, I'm right on that. I'm right underneath that line. I'm lining up with my side right here, rubbing with my fingers just to kind of give it a temporary hold. Open it up. Yep, it looks good. Give a good burnish. Give a good burnish. Oh my gosh, that's so great. Okay, we're on our last piece. We're going to do exactly the same thing. On here. I'm glad you can't see my face because I like hold my tongue or bite my lip or something while I'm doing this. Okay, so again, I'm right on that edge. I'm lining up the left edge. I put my paper down. Use my fingers to kind of give it a good a little tack, a baby tack. Open it up. Nice. Oh, that was my dog barking. Sorry. Give a good burnish. Okay, look at that. Oh my gosh, I forgot to put the pin in my glue. Somebody should have told me that. Okay. So, what I want you to notice and not be stressed about, because I'm going to tell you. So we made this base 8.5 inches. And you can see, I'm trying to make there we go. You see that right here? Now, this is more than 1/2 inch down here. And I do that on purpose. I want it to be more than 1/2 inch because what this gives me, makes me to be able to make it 1/2 inch. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mark with my cutter. I'm going to cut that at 1/2 inch. And so, by the way, I own multiple cutters. I've got down to a few that I really like. I like the self-adhesive big Fisker with the push thing, and then I like this Fisker right here because it has a piece of wire in it. I don't know if you can see that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bottom flap and I'm going to make it at the 1/2 inch mark on my ruler, or on my cutter, excuse me. So my 1/2 inch mark is right, my paper's right here, and that's a 1/2 inch mark. And so when I close that and I cut it, that's going to be 1/2 inch. So now look at it, it's all perfect. Okay, so it is going to be a little bit longer in the beginning. That's okay, because we're going to, and the reason I do that is you may not make these a perfect 1/2 inch. You will never know. Nobody's going to measure it. But that allows you a little give, and that's what I do with that. Isn't that great? That's a sweet idea. So we have our base made. Can you believe that? That's how easy it is. Now, before I go any farther, I am going to go ahead and put my score tape on the back. I told you yesterday I don't use a lot of score tape. I do not. When I create the album cover and I create the waterfall flap and that back envelope, I do use tape. And then through most of my pages, I don't use a lot of tape. So just to let you know that. So I'm going to go around and I'm going to put my score tape on the edges of this. Waterfalls, when you get photos on them, get heavy. And that's why I kind of just like the security of the tape. The glue would hold. I am not saying that. But I do like to get the tape on there. This waterfall is going to hold a lot of photos. A lot of photos. So we have 7 flaps. 6 of those flaps will hold 2 pictures, so that's 12. The top flap you could put 2 on. I mean, you could. I like to leave the decorative paper up there, but you're going to be able to put, 14 to 16 photos right in this spot, and that's 4x6 photos. Okay. Once you kind of get this whole concept down, then just write your instructions down, because even though this contraption or this little piece right here is going to go into this 6.5 by 8.5 photo album, does not mean that you couldn't do maybe 4 pieces and put it in a smaller place. Or if you have a 9x9 album and you want to put this down, you can put a piece of decorative paper on the side. So it doesn't constrict you to just putting it in the 6.5 by 8.5 album, because it is great. In my albums upcoming that I will do, I may make a 3x3 one, so you kind of get the understanding of how to do these. So there'll be some different sizes that you can come and see. But this has really been fun when I thought about it. I used to, I want to say waste, but I would take my waterfalls, if you look at any of my earlier videos, and they would all be covered with beautiful paper. I would give this to people as a gift, and they're like, oh, I'm going to cover that up. And so you take that beautiful paper that A, costs you money and time to put down, and it's going to be covered up eventually. So waterfalls are one of the first things that they should be putting their pictures in. Now remember, on a big album like an 8x8 or 9x9, guess what you can do? You can make one in the front page like this, vertical, and on the back, make one horizontal, and you have both photos going both ways. And that right there would hold 30 to 35 photos just in those two locations. And even if you did that with your smaller albums with 2 or 3 pages, think of how many photos you could put in there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is on my bottom flap, what I like to do is I like to make this last one a pocket. Don't ask me why I like to. You do not have to. But when you make your pocket, again, this pocket is 7 1/8 by 2 1/4. I have then punched it with my decorative punch. Again, you don't have to do that. You can use a different punch. You can use no punch. You can use die cuts if you want. I do use dies occasionally. What I don't like about the dies, unless you have the 8-inch ones, I hate moving them because I can never get them lined up. So I typically like to use my punches, and it's not as frustrating. So what I want to do, when I make my pockets, what I like to do is I like to make them so that we have this 1/2 inch all the way around. And when I bring this up, you're going to see this where the 2 score lines meet. It's kind of a, there you go, that little 90-degree angle there. We're going to cut right across that, and I'm going to cut one, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. You don't want to cut into your pocket piece, but just a hair off from that point. So you see, I have cut that so that's nice and mitered. I'm going to do the same thing on this one. There you go, nice and mitered. I'd like to throw this behind me, but I'm not. I'll throw out my garbage. Now, again, we're going to fold towards the bumpy, and I'm going to fold all 3 places, and I fold it, turn it over, burnish it with my bone folder, fold your other one, burnish it with your bone folder, and then on my last big one, I do the big one last, I'm going to come over and burnish it with my bone folder. Okay, look at how beautiful that is. So, but one of the tricks I want to tell you is when you turn it over, and I'm going to tell you right here, my 2 pieces overlap, and they shouldn't overlap. When they do, I'm going to trim them a little bit. Don't trim your corner off because you'll be sorry. I'm just going to trim a little bit off like that. You don't want those overlapping because then that makes it bulky. Okay, so now we got that down. They're not overlapping, and we're good to go. Okay, so I'm going to give it a good burnish. This pocket is going to go right on our bottom flap. Now, I'm going to tell you a trick that I do. It works for me. I use it all the time. I wish you met my mother. She would tell you that I do this all the time. I need to grab what I need. I don't know where they are. I have 2 pieces of clear acetate that was in my drawer right here, and I cannot find it. Well, that is super duper. Well, okay, we're going to go without it, and hopefully I don't cause myself a problem. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm only going to glue this bottom flap of my pocket. Don't care what size it is, that's what we're going to do. Sorry. Oh, I knew I'd find them. And you can tell, you see how these are kind of, they have glue all over them. And so they're kind of very worn. So all of this is acetate, and they're a few inches wide, and I don't know, I think they're 11 inches, but I just took acetate and cut strips in it, and I use these all the time. What I do with my pockets, I see people struggle. First of all, my score tape, no score tape, not going to do it. Have no problems with my pockets. A lot of people will put score tape down, they'll get their pocket wrong, they'll get mad. try to rip it up and causes problems. Or even if they glue it, they try to lay it all down. But here's what I do. Take my glue and I'm going to scribble. And I'm going to scribble on my flap there. So I hope you can see that. Okay. Then I'm going to lay just, because that's all that's glued. I'm going to lay that right on my, excuse me, let me get my glue out of the way. Lay it right in my pocket. And you're going to line up your corners and your bottom. And this one's going to go right to the edge. And I'm going to, remember, I'm going to use my finger and kind of get it. Yep, it's good. Am I good? Yep. And I'm going to open it up. Guess what I'm going to do? Burnish it. Look at that. Okay. So now my pocket I know is in the right place. Now I'm going to glue these other pieces. So in order for me to not cause any glue problems, what I do is, again, I'm going to kind of open up this flap and I'm going to scribble right on this. And the other side, because you have to do both sides, even if it's a long pocket. And do both sides. I am then gently going to close it, just gently. No, don't push on it, just hold it down like that. I take my trusty acetate and I'm going to shove it in there so it is in between my pocket and the piece I just glued. So now when I burnish this, and I burnish it good, the extra glue will not glue my pocket shut. It's going to go on the underside of the acetate, which doesn't stick when you pull it out within a reasonable amount of time. That way, my pocket is completely all the way taken care of, all the way down. So if I could find my, oh gosh, my picture, you're going to laugh, my picture is still in when I was telling you, showing my video on this, is hidden right in here. Hopefully I don't give that picture away someday. I leave it in there. So now, and remember, our 4x6 photos are going to fit right on here perfect. Just perfect. I know that's hard to see because I don't have a piece of white paper behind it. But you can see that's going to give you a beautiful, it's going to be the perfect size. But guess what? Here, this pocket, because of how I did it, your 4x6 photo is still going to fit in there. And it goes all the way down to the bottom of your page. So that is how I make all of my pockets, no matter what the width, length, any of that. So you'll see that throughout all my tutorials. That will be how we make pockets. Okay, now, wow. How easy is that, you guys? Is that not super? Let's put our decorative papers on. Here's my top paper, and on my guide in the beginning, I told you what size to cut. But this top flap is 5 7/8 by 4.5. That gives you a 1/4 inch difference, which then makes it lay really nice. Okay, again, going to use glue. Get the corners, you guys. Scribble on there. Scribble, scribble, scribble. Get the corners good. And then I scribble all really big. I take a white piece of paper because of the black, you can't see it, and I put that underneath there. And I am going to just center my paper right on there. Burnish it. Burnish it good, you guys. Glue comes out the sides. That's exactly what we want it to do. We want it to pop out. It dries clear. Don't worry about it. Give it a good burnish. That's why this glue works so good. I don't have my paper peel off. Some people use the I can't really think of it, the big gun. I have one. Occasionally I use it. I always go back to my glue. It's really great. Okay, that's the top piece. Now I'm going to go down to the bottom piece. Here's my bottom piece. This piece is 5 7/8 by 4 inches because you don't need it the full length. You don't need to go in and cover underneath your pocket. That's a waste of paper, and you need your paper. I'm also a quilter. I will do whatever I can to keep my scraps. Why, I don't know, because I have more than I'll ever use, and in my paper as well. But that's kind of how our crafty people are, is gosh, we don't want to waste anything. So again, 5 7/8 by 4. This one's going to fit right down, and it fits perfectly. And you're going to make sure that you get it all the way to that very first flip. Okay? I don't know which way this paper goes. I think it goes this way. Okay, so again, I'm going to use my glue. Get your corners good and then scribble on the sides. It's easier to scribble than it is to do a straight line because I don't know, I go off the paper when I do straight line. Scribble on there. And then this slides right in the pocket. And because you've got it glued, you're going to have the opportunity to maneuver it. And you just want to be, oh, you know, 1/8 of an inch away from that seam just because it makes it look nice. I don't know, maybe I should put, you know what, maybe my next tutorial I'll make that white underneath there because it seems to work better than the brown. Burnish it good. Okay, look at that. Okay, we are going to add this pocket strip first, but I do want to tell you something, give you another tip. I rarely cover my pocket pieces until I'm all done with my albums. So if you would pick up my album when it would appear to be all done and you'd flip through that, the last thing I do is I come and put paper on here. And the reason is that I don't want to cut into my paper to make a pocket strip 5 7/8 by 1 inch. If I go take my 12 by 12 piece of paper, cut off an inch strip, or I have a 6 by 8 piece and I cut off an inch strip, that inch may have caused me a heartache that I won't be able to use that big piece of paper for something else. So I go back with all my scraps, and as I make my albums, I have a pile of all my scraps, and then I go back. Now there's sometimes that you might have some special color arrangement that you want to do, but typically I do that at the end. My mother just on her first album that she made of the album I made, I used the Cricut. I'm going to design it without the Cricut. She made it, and each page, including all the pockets, she was cutting all of her pages. And that worked fine, but then when she got later on, you know, 3 or 4 pages down, she's like, oh shoot, I cut into that big page, so now I got to do something different. So use your scraps. Use your scraps. Okay, so again, this is a piece of cake. This is all figured, the sides are all figured out for you. I think when you know the sizes and you can pre-cut everything, I think it's super cool. And then that just goes right on there. And again, I put it down with my hands first, give it a little push with my hands. And then I am going to burnish it well. Makes that glue spread out. There you go. Okay, now here comes the fun part. You can set and choose and arrange how you want your papers. I'm not going to do that because I need to, I could spend too much time here. So on your sheet of paper, what I told you that you needed was 19 strips. So 19 strips that are 3 1/8 by 5 7/8. Okay, again, this would be something that I would do at the end because I have all these strips of paper, and I know that you guys do. I know, because if you've been making albums, scrapbooking, making cards, you have all these scraps. So I just go and I cut a whole bunch of these, and then I'm just going to set them right down. I'm just going to set them right here. And what we're going to do is we have multiple places to put those strips. The first place we're going to put them is right on the front of this. Again, because it's black, I always am going to put a piece of white paper under the place I'm working. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your first strip. I'm going to leave the pin off my glue, so hopefully I'll be fine. I'm going to take my first strip and I just scribble my glue on. And I'm going to center it and more towards the bottom part of your flap. Do it with your fingers first and then burnish it down. Okay, I'm going to move to this next flap. Grab another piece. This is cool because it looks like you've used so much paper, and oh my gosh, in the beginning it did use a lot of paper when you made your waterfalls. I quit making them for a while because it was taking so much paper. Again, I put it down with my fingers first. I'm going to do that. Even look at that. Look at that. That looks like I have 3 pieces of paper on there. Okay. Going on to my next one. wasn't grabbing one. I am grabbing them randomly, that I'll have to tell you, but I am trying to look at the colors so we don't get two colors next to each other because it would kind of make me mad. But again, make it more towards the bottom of your flap. Okay. Moving right along here. And I'm just going to keep on going. I hope you guys enjoy making albums as much as I do. Again, I am a quilter, and I am a knitter, and I'm an album maker. I used to make cards. I kind of, for some reason, my card making kind of went by the wayside when I started making albums. And I have never scrapbooked, never had the desire to scrapbook. But my albums have been probably the highlight of every baby shower, every wedding. I think they are an incredible gift to make. So I just put my other piece down. I think we need to get back to printing our photos. We're probably all on Facebook and all the photos come up. But, you know, I have 4 granddaughters, and the oldest one just turned 12 the other day. And yeah, I can go find those pictures by looking in Facebook, but I need to get them printed out, and I need to get some albums made so that in my later years I can peek into my what my granddaughters as they grew up. So I think it's important that we print and get some in some albums. There's a new selfie printer that I'm thinking about getting. I'm pretty excited about having it prints I guess it prints a few different sizes, but one of the things it does, the ink is, it all comes with your like 50 sheets of paper and ink to make 50 prints. That's, you know, 4x6 size. And so I'm thinking I'm going to look into that. Okay, that quickly, folks, look at it. Looks like I have all that paper. This is probably one of the most exciting things that I discovered. Can't tell you if I'm the only one that has done this or discovered it, but that's what I do. Now we are going to do the same thing with it going on the inside. Now, what I want you to be aware of is before, without the strips on there, it was really easy to open. Make sure when you get your strips on that you open them one at a time, because they can get caught in, like even see they'll get caught. So you want to do it one at a time. And when you give somebody your album, I always like to give it and be there when they get it and show them so they'll understand that. So we're going to do the same thing on here. So I'm going to start with this photo right here, and I am going to take my paper and I'm going to scribble my glue. Hope I can do this at this angle. And again, I'm going to put this one and I'm going to put it up close to the top. Press it with my fingers. Give it a good burnish. Here's what I want to show you. Perfect 4x6 photo. That makes it perfect. This 3/8 inch strip makes you a beautiful black frame. Now when I come to this one, you know what, I'm going to do it this way. So let me start this way, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute. I'm going to go back to doing this one right here. I should have started at the top. Sorry about that. It'll make sense in a minute. Okay, put this one up here, and again closer to the top, not all the way to the top, but just give it a little bit of a. Okay, look at that. Now you're like, wait a minute, wait. There's this big spot right here. What the heck? So when you go to do the second set, you're going to do here, and then you have this gusset. That 1/2 inch flap is a gusset. So you're going to take a piece of another piece. That's why you need so many of these. And you're going to scribble your glue. You're going to center it right in the middle of that gusset. Press it with your fingers and burnish it down. See? So there my photo fits there, and there my photo fits there. It looks like I have put all this paper on there, and I haven't. Super cool. Okay, so I'm going to again come here to this next one. I don't need my white paper now going that way. That's fine. Here I have this green, well, it's brownish. I have no idea where I got this paper. I'm sure Michael's or Joann's at one time. Scribble my stuff. You know what? You might need your paper. That's a little bit hard to see. Okay. Again, we have this gap right here to fill. And if you get confused about what gap it is, lay your 4x6 photo on there. And then it's easy to see where it's at. What you don't want is you don't want your strips to touch either of these folds. If they do, it will not close nicely. Okay. Okay, let's take a green one, and then I'm going to put my white paper on there so it's easier for me to put that on. So I hope this is making sense to you. And I hope you think it's a great idea to save paper. Now, if you have extra paper, you can sure cover them all. One of the other things I don't like about covering them all is because it gets super heavy. And the heavier you get in your album, you can have some, problems pulling away, or your book won't close. I have made some incredible albums, and when I've got all done and I haven't done the U-shaped gusset. Remember, we talked about the U-shaped gusset, and this is a 1/2 inch, and you can also make it 3 or 5/8 inches. Sometimes if I don't pay attention and I make my album gussets too small, I can't get any pictures in there. Putting extra paper in there makes your album thicker. Okay, so I got this green. Let's do blue. Again, I'm going to move my white piece of paper. I don't have to use my photo to help me, but I'm just doing that so you can get a visual as in where I'm trying to put my papers. And again, when you're using the glue, you have the ability to move your paper around if you don't think you have it in the right place. That. And you might want to cut more than the 19 strips that you need when you get done for scraps, because maybe maybe you want to put a certain way, or something like that. It's also super duper fun, if you're good, is to actually use a pattern, so that when you close it, even when it's closed right here, that the pattern is all the same and it looks like you have all like the same piece of paper in there. That's kind of fun too. I love stripes when I do it that way. We're almost done. I mean, that's super cool. I mean, this waterfall is so fun and easy to make. I can't even tell you. Whoops, that moved it because I didn't put that down with my thumb first, and it kind of moved a little bit. Oop, I don't want to do that the same color. That would kind of be against my better judgment there. Okay. Get that down there. Do this. Put this one at the top. Just have
Hello. Hey, Mommy.
and then I have one to set down here.
Text you about what I got nothing.
Hold on just a second. My lovely granddaughter is talking on the phone, and she needs to go into the other room, so you won't interrupt with my video. So sorry about that, you guys, if that caused any little glitch there. So, okay, and then I have, because I already did this one, and there's no gusset on this one, on your last one. Okay, because we actually put our pocket piece up there. So when you look at this now, I'm going to put the lid on my glue. And I am going to pull that away. Look at that, you guys. Look at that. Man. And again, you want to close these one at a time so they don't catch. But look, see, when you do this, it also looks like you have paper up here and paper down here. That's the beauty of this. Is that not the coolest idea ever? Okay, gosh, we're almost an hour into this video, and I really don't want to make my videos more than an hour. So I hope that you will bear with me because I really want to keep them at an hour because it just is a lot of your time and my time as well. So I think we'll wrap it up with a waterfall. Tomorrow I will record the envelope piece. And then when we do the pages, hopefully we'll be able to do all 4 pages in one tutorial. Again, I apologize for that, but I'd rather have you have the opportunity to have them in smaller segments. Okay, we're still not done yet though. You could choose to put a piece of cardstock over here and come up here and put a magnet, which we would have had to put a magnet down underneath this one. Or you can use ribbon. And when you use ribbon, you can use any kind or style of ribbon that you like. I like to make my ribbon too big so that when I get done, I can tie my bow, make my bow, and then I can trim it. If you make it just the perfect size of what you think and then you have a hard time tying it, then it gets pretty upsetting. So what I'm going to do my bow is I'm going to take off my one piece of tape right here, and I am going to kind of glue my bow down here, or glue my ribbon. I'm trying to think what you call that, and just kind of put it in the middle. What did I do with my bone folder? Now I don't even know. Great. Great, great, great. I'm going to kind of put that down there. And I'm going to come back over with tape over that piece that we did cut. And I'm going to put a couple pieces over my ribbon as well, because I want this to hold pretty strong. Okay, that was at the bottom. Now I'm going to come up and I'm going to do the same thing with my top. Here's my Tim Holtz tool with a poker. I'm going to take that off. And again, I'm going to scribble my glue, lay my ribbon down, and I'm going to cover, maybe if I can find my end of my tape, cover my original piece. Cover that, put one more piece on there. And then again, because a waterfall is heavy, I'm going to then put some tape on here. And again, this is about the only time I use tape on just this few pieces. Okay, you say on my album cover, in my waterfalls, and on my envelope in the back page. I think I might have said this, but if I didn't, if I've already said it, I apologize. I do not like to put my waterfalls on a page in the middle of my book. This is heavy. This will cause a lot of pull on your pieces, and I just don't like it. So I almost always put it on the inside front cover or the inside back cover. Okay, so now if I can clear off my space here, I have my album, and I will tell you this, I've done it, my mom's done it. Make sure you know which is the top of your album. Now, you can do, sometimes you want to write with an arrow or something like that, because if you haven't, you will in your lifetime put your stuff in upside down. So just going to make sure we have it in the right place, and we're going to, oh gosh, for a minute there I thought, why is that too small? It went underneath my, did you see that? It went underneath here, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, what did I do? Okay. This is going to go, and you're just going to center it in there. Okay, so let's get all these little white tapes up. And pull them up. You know, I hope, I know some of you probably want faster tutorials. I don't know if I can do them faster. I kind of like to do the step-by-step. I'm hoping that it'll help people learn and get passionate about the album making, not feel scared about album making. The first couple I made with my mother, about 4 or 5 years ago. I said I would never do any more again because I had the worst information and the worst ways to do things, and it was horrible. And then we discovered Shelly from J&S Hobbies, and we fell in love with her, and then that was all it wrote for me, and I have been making albums ever since, so it's been quite a while. Again, remember my tip? We're going to put glue on every one of those pieces of tape, okay? So we're just going to go and do a line of glue over all the tape. Just a light line, not a lot, you guys, not a lot, just a light line of glue. Remember, that's going to let us maneuver, and even don't forget the ones on the ribbon. Then I'm going to scribble. Okay. What that does is it allows me, when I set that down, I have some give. If you do not, the minute that tape hits, you're done. You're a done deal. So I'm just going to eyeball it. Some people have to have measurements. I'm just going to eyeball it. And I'm going to press it down. And again, if you're get it crooked, it picks up. And I picked that up. I don't know if you saw that. Okay. Now, as we've got it down. Yay! So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up each page and I'm going to burnish right on each page because that helps adhere my album to my page. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? I'm so excited, you guys. This has just been, and then right here I'm really going to burnish it down all the way. There we go. So close these one by one. Do this super, see this? See this right here? Looks like you have paper on there. Close it up. Looks like you got paper down there. Then you're going to tie your bow. I am horrible at tying bows, by the way, just FYI. So if you feel you're the worst, I probably am worse. Tie it. Don't stress out about your bows. If you can kind of get it like you like it, and after you get your pages in, close your book a lot because then it presses the bow down. Now I am not going to right this moment cut any of my tails. I won't cut them until I get to the end of my album, and then I will cut them. And I also fray check. I don't know if you know what fray check is. I will fray check the ends of my bows, so it keeps them from raveling. So there's that. One last thing I want to show you tonight before I call it a night is, remember I told you about these pieces that go in between my my binding system, and I had cut the wrong size. Well, I got the right size cut, and I want to put them back in order. So they're 3/8 by, they are, excuse me, 3/8 by 8 3/4 because you want it a 1/4 inch shorter than this. And my favorite is to use stripes. I don't have any stripe paper in this line, but what you're going to do is, again, scribble your glue on your piece, and you're going to center it in this gap that you have right here, and you have about 1/8 of an inch on the top and the bottom. Again, these are long strips, so adhere it with your fingers first, because if you try to burnish it right away, it will kind of buckle. Make sure when you can close your album before you burnish it that it's not catching on any of the pieces there. I should have put this over a little bit and I waited too long, so I'm not going to do that. Okay, so we're going to burnish that down. Again, let the glue come out. That's okay. It dries clear. I'm going to take my middle piece. It's cool to have a pattern because when people are flipping through your albums with your pages like that, it's pretty cool. Oops, got it. I almost didn't get that top up there. Okay, so the next one, again, you're going to center it in the middle of your U, and you're going to make sure that the top and bottom match the other one. Put it down with your fingers. Make sure, close your U up, make sure it's not interfering with any of your pieces there to keep it from closing. And then our last one, like this. And that one's going to go right here. You don't have to do this, but I like it a lot. Kind of gives you a finished feeling. So there, can you see that? Isn't that, I'm trying to figure out how I can get that to show you. So when you look directly right down on it, you can see the pattern continue through there. So it's kind of cool. Again, I didn't cut any, and I didn't do it on this album, but you could also put a strip right here and a strip right here. Could be the same color as this, could be something different. That doesn't matter. Don't do it on this one because what we have over here, there won't be room for our what we're going to do in the back. So there we go, wrap it up. It's not quite an hour, but I don't want to go into my back piece because that will make it like an hour and 40 minutes, and I don't want to do that. So hopefully this helped, and I'm hoping you guys can create your waterfall flap for your 4x6 photos. That looks like you used a lot of paper when you didn't. Again, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I'm here to make you successful and have some fun stuff. So there you go. See you later, and I'll get this posted, and I should get my section 3 up and going here in a day or two as well. Thanks, folks.